The Shang period was a large duration of Chinese history that saw immense bloodshed, but also great innovation. China during this time rivaled the great kingdoms of the Mediterranean, but this far-flung empire developed almost entirely separate from the Western world. This is Ancestria, Bronze Age China. The most significant of the early Chinese states was Shang. According to legend, the Shang was a leading polity during the Xia period, and their leader, Cheng Tang, seized control of the North China plain at the Battle of Mingtiao in 1600 BC. This was prompted due to the supposed negligence and cruelty of the Xia, allowing Tang to form a network of cooperation with other Chinese states. Tang's descendants went on to rule China for the next 4 centuries, and during this time, China experienced great advances. The Shang developed bronze around this time, but unlike in the West, they learned how to make the tin and copper alloy without outside influence. Bronze was a closely kept secret of the Shang during much of this time and would primarily be used for only 2 purposes: ritual worship and warfare. Despite this, bronze was still a very large-scale production requiring vast pools of labor for mining, transportation, and creation. This is because bronze is an incredible asset to our ancestors at this time. No other weapon can match the strength and durability of bronze. Early Chinese rulers secured their power through military might, and China was regularly in a state of war, which made this production incredibly important. Shang society was organized along military lines, where every person could be conscripted into the army at a moment's notice. They fought constant wars against peasant uprisings, rebellious vassals, rival states, invaders from afar, and even perpetrated sacrificial slave raids in the tens of thousands. The foreign invaders used battle techniques that were unseen in China at the time. Likely they were Indo-Europeans who had spread east across the Eurasian steppes. The Shang eventually adopted this method of warfare into their own armies, and even their culture changed from this exchange. Horses became status symbols that represented a person's military might, who were now buried with both horse and chariot. This is the only instance in Shang history of a significant innovation spreading from the West. The Shang also invented one of China's first writing systems, and this is rather significant because it is similar enough to modern Chinese that it can be read by scholars. While it survives solely on oracle bones, a method of fortune telling, these are incredibly numerous and widespread, indicating that writing was quite common. It was likely employed by kings to extend their rule further by communicating their will to their subjects, creating a strong, unified culture. Through this, the lunar calendar came into existence. This calendar lasts 12 months long, each consisting of 29 days, but every year royal astronomers were tasked with recalculating it to add up to 365 days, since this was used to predict agricultural cycles. This in itself helped the Shang to earn the cooperation of the farmers who grew their crops and depended on these calculations. It also allows for celebrations across the land to coincide on the same day, granting our ancestors a sense of community. However, the Shang became wasteful, splurging on lavish tombs and palaces while facing countless wars. Other states continued to grow despite Shang remaining dominant for centuries, but similar advances were made in other areas of modern China. Eventually, one of these rival kingdoms, Zhou, conquered the lands of Shang and incorporated the existing systems into their empire in the 11th century BC. The Zhou dynasty may have replaced the Shang, but China did not meet the same fate as the Western kingdoms during the Bronze Age collapse. China continued to flourish. Nonetheless, Shang was one of the most important kingdoms in China's history, providing a solid foundation for unity through its strong hold of vast lands augmented by writing and a common calendar. This is Ancestria, the history of our ancestors.